in general, I know Turning Point was going for this entertainment that is faith, family, kind of patriotic America and all that stuff. And I watched both of them. And what I noticed is that when Bad Bunny talked about things that were a little more serious and Turning Point talked about little things that were a little more serious, Bad Bunny, at least Bad Bunny still kept it entertaining. Like, it was still an entertaining thing. There was still celebration overall. Like, there was this overall tone of celebration, right? We're here to honor all these cultures, honor America. They pulled out the American flag and he started naming every country part of the Americas. I think towards the end. But there was this overall tone that was still celebratory. It was happy. Now, and when I saw Turning Points, when they got serious, the music also got really serious. And I think that's interesting, right? That the fact that, at least for entertainment, for I would call Christianity, entertainment for Christianity. When it's time to talk about something serious, we have the whole music being serious. But in my mind, at least when I was watching Turning Point's halftime show, I was like, he's introducing Jesus in a serious song called Till You Can. And I think the song is really about, try everything, because one day you just can't. One day you just can't try. One day it's too late to try. One day it's too late to dream. And the gospel was preached under this serious tone. And I looked at that and I said, it's so interesting to me that I wonder when it comes to Christians and entertainment, when it comes to trying to, the context is usually competing with the world. I don't always know if that's the best context to try to do. Under that narrative, like we're competing against. I think it's more just like we're an addition, because you are an addition, because Turning Point may not be the only halftime show in the future. There may be other people that can do this, that do it in a different way. But that narrative, we're competing. I don't know if that's the best one moving forward, but I want to talk really talk about this idea how the gospel is presented. Bad Bunny was expressing his culture in this celebratory, honoring way. There was a wedding. There was this, it's festive. And the gospel was preached in this serious kind of tone. And I want to say something, that kind of serious tone, like with that song is serious and everything is serious and we're trying to go to that depth. I don't know why, but usually in Christian culture, when we try to share the gospel, there's this level of seriousness that comes upon us, because in a sense it is serious. Like, that's a reality. It is serious. But Jesus, the gospel, is also good news. That's what the gospel is. Good news. It's something that you proclaim with joy. How beautiful are the feet of those who bring good news. So there's this, the gospel has this beauty to it. Right? The gospel has this beauty to it, but not only beauty to it, but beauty from the one presenting it, that there's a beauty, and beauty is something you look to gaze at. Beauty is something you want to look at. We like to look at beautiful things. When we watch movies, we're watching beautiful people for a couple hours on a screen. We want to watch beautiful things. We want to see beauty. And so there's this beauty that comes from presenting the gospel. And I think that's interesting, because when Bad Bunny was presenting his culture, his lifestyle of being Puerto Rican and his country, there's this festivity, there's this celebration. And I look at that and I said, man, at what point as Christians, when it comes to entertainment, can we really be celebratory like that? The gospel is usually presented especially when we entertain, in this serious kind of tone. And in Kid Rock's presentation of the gospel, he says, give your life to Jesus. He'll give you a second chance until you can't. And so there's that kind of like sober message, which you could say it's always important, the righteousness, you got to explain that, when you die, you can't, there's no second chances after you die, which is a certain type of Christianity, by the way. It's not necessarily everyone's interpretation, but that I can honestly say that's what my generation, millennials, and everyone already kind of knows about the gospel. So in a sense, he wasn't presenting anything new. He was heralding the gospel in a certain tone. But everyone who doesn't believe in Jesus, at least in this country, let's say most people, not everyone, but most people already kind of understand the concept that if I don't believe in Jesus, I'm going to go to hell. So there's this kind of messaging, like, messaging people are very much used to. So in a sense, nothing new was really said, or it wasn't presented in a way that anyone hasn't already seen. Right? And I'm talking about this because it's like, well, the gospel's changes, the gospel's timeless. Yeah, but you're also entertainment. The context of the gospel you're presenting here, or Kid Rock was presenting, Turning Point was presenting, was entertainment, right? It was looking to entertain and to draw millions. And so to present the gospel in this serious song, I'm just doing comparisons, right? Like I thought about, like when I was watching Bad Bunnies and I watched Turning Points, Bad Bunny had this wedding, and I'm like, man, Jesus talked about weddings all the time. He did miracles. He did a miracle at a wedding, but he talked, we are the marriage supper of the Lamb. Like the Bible's filled with wedding themes when it comes to the gospel. There's a lot of happy themes when it comes to the gospel being shared. Jesus himself referred to his ministry as singing and dancing a happy song. And as Christians, I think a lot of times when it comes to entertainment, when it comes to the gospel, we get into like this serious mode. But at some point, I do think, I'm talking about it specifically because I can see that Turning Point is talking about faith and family. Faith is a big part of their halftime show that they want to share, right? At some point, I wonder, when are we going to show not just what you would call it maybe the serious side of salvation or the righteous side of salvation, but the joyful side of salvation? Like at some point you do have to show people that you are happy to follow Jesus, right? That not everything is a war. Not everything is a cultural battle. Like, are you happy to follow Jesus? Like, even though that's the gospel, right? He's sharing the gospel. People are hearing about the gospel and maybe thinking about it for a second, right? But like at some point, like, are you going to be happy that you follow Jesus? Like, not just happy that you're going to, not just like we're going to be happy after I die, but are you happy here, right? Are you happy about your Christian culture here, right? Are you happy about, in a sense, the culture that you create when you're following Jesus, right? And so even though, like, for instance, Bad Bunny, when he was talking about serious things, and he was talking about serious things, I think, towards the end, and just while he was honoring all those countries, that was a serious moment, emotional moment, but everyone was really happy, right? Here, we're talking, I'm just going to say this, when you talk about, you give your life to Jesus, he'll give you a second chance until you can't, right? Like, it's not joyful. Right? They were happy. I'm talking about joy. And the kingdom is righteousness, peace, and joy. Righteousness, peace, and joy in the Holy Spirit. At some point, when it comes to entertainment, you got to show the joy. And I wonder, because I grew up in church, never left. I'm a pastor's kid. I grew up in church. The seriousness is always overemphasized. I'm just going to be flat out. The seriousness is always overemphasized. Like as a teenager, it's always overemphasized, the seriousness of it all. The joy is expressed really minimally. The joy is expressed minimally. And so as a young person, I remember you kind of have to go towards other things to do the happy part of life. But the truth is, the gospel is the good news. It's the most joyful news on the planet. The gospel heals the sick, raises the dead, casts out devils. The gospel is the most joyful, creative message in the world ever to be spoken. And entertainment, if you're going to do faith entertainment, it should express that. It should express that. I'm going to tell you right now, as a millennials, talking about my generation, what he said is no different than what like everyone heard when I was a kid. That's what kids heard every single time. It was always like, give your life to Jesus. You may not be around tomorrow. You know how many times I was told that I may not be around tomorrow when I was a teenager? You know how many times I was told? Every single time there was a conference, every single time there was a big youth rally, I was told, you may not be here tomorrow. You may not be here. You're not guaranteed your full life. It's like, yeah, but a lot of people are going to live long. I might be one of them. So there's like the seriousness of it. But I think where, if Turning Point takes away, if Turning Point ever even sees this, I would recommend you got to show, or anyone looking to do faith entertainment, you got to show the joy of salvation.